Nestled in the quiet town of Kennedy, Texas, the Connally Unit stands as a fortress of iron and concrete. This maximum security prison is home to some of the most dangerous criminals in the state. Among them, 7 inmates who would soon become infamous: George Rivas, Larry Harper, Joseph Garcia, Michael Rodriguez, Randy Halprin, Patrick Murphy, and Donald Newberry. These men, each with their own harrowing pasts and lengthy sentences, found themselves bound by a common thread: desperation. The Connally Unit was more than just a prison. It was a crucible of hopelessness and despair. For these 7, every day behind bars was a reminder of their lost freedom and the lives they had left behind. But what drives a man to risk everything? For George Rivas, the ringleader, it was a relentless desire for freedom and a refusal to die in prison. Larry Harper, serving a life sentence, saw no future within those walls. Joseph Garcia and Michael Rodriguez, both facing decades of incarceration, yearned for a second chance. Randy Halprin, Patrick Murphy, and Donald Newberry, each with their own burdens, found solace in the idea of escape. Months of careful planning ensued. They scrutinized every detail: guard rotations, security protocols, and the layout of the prison. The plan was as audacious as it was meticulous. They knew the risks, but for these 7 men, the thought of spending the rest of their lives in confinement was a fate worse than death. Their desperation fueled their resolve, turning their dreams of freedom into a dangerous reality. And so, in the shadow of the Connally Unit, a plot was born. A plot that would soon shock an entire nation. The night of December 13, 2000, was unremarkable for most at the John B. Connally Unit in Texas, but for 7 inmates, it was the culmination of months of meticulous planning. As the clock ticked closer to their moment of truth, the Texas 7 steeled themselves for what was to come. George Rivas, the mastermind, had orchestrated every detail. At approximately 11:20 a.m., the group initiated their plan. They began by overpowering unsuspecting civilian maintenance workers in the prison's maintenance area. Using handmade shivs and sheer brute force, they subdued and restrained these workers, taking their uniforms and identification badges. With their new disguises, the inmates split into 2 groups. One group, led by Rivas, focused on the control room. They needed to neutralize the guards and take control of the security systems. Timing was crucial. They struck during a guard shift change, exploiting the momentary lapse in vigilance. Rivas and his team approached the control room, blending in seamlessly with their stolen uniforms. They caught the guards off guard, swiftly disarming and overpowering them. Simultaneously, the second group, led by Donald Newberry, headed to the prison armory. They knew that to stand any chance outside, they needed weapons. Using the stolen maintenance tools, they broke into the armory and seized an arsenal of firearms, including handguns and shotguns. The group reassembled, now heavily armed and wearing guard uniforms. With the control room under their command, they manipulated the security cameras and electronic gates. The entire operation was executed with military precision. They moved through the facility, bypassing checkpoints and navigating the labyrinthine corridors with an unsettling calm. By the time the prison authorities realized what was happening, it was too late. The Texas 7 had already made their way to a prison maintenance pickup truck. They piled in and drove towards freedom, leaving chaos in their wake. As they sped away from the Connally Unit, the realization of their audacious escape began to sink in. They had done the impossible. The night of December 13, 2000, would forever be etched in the annals of American criminal history. The Texas 7 had shown that even the most secure facilities could be breached with enough desperation and cunning. Their escape was not just a flight to freedom, it was a declaration of war against the system that had confined them. What followed was a month-long manhunt that captivated the nation, but on that fateful night, the Texas 7 vanished into the darkness, leaving behind a stunned and bewildered world. As the Texas 7 sped away from the John B. Connally Unit, their immediate priority was to disappear into the vast expanse of Texas. They knew that the clock was ticking, and the full force of law enforcement would soon be on their tail. The fugitives had a premeditated plan for survival. They drove to a nearby Walmart parking lot, where they abandoned the prison maintenance truck and split into smaller groups. Each group had a specific role, securing transportation, food, and shelter. George Rivas, ever the strategist, had arranged for a network of contacts to assist them. They changed vehicles multiple times, using stolen cars to evade detection. They avoided main roads and kept to rural areas, knowing that their best chance was to stay off the radar. The group used payphones and burner phones to communicate, ensuring that their conversations couldn't be traced. The Texas 7 quickly adapted to life on the run. They took refuge in abandoned buildings, secluded cabins, and even under bridges. They scavenged for food, relying on convenience store heists and dumpster diving. Their stolen firearms provided both protection and a means of intimidation. The fugitives were resourceful, but the constant threat of capture weighed heavily on them. Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies launched one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history. The Texas Rangers, FBI, and local police forces coordinated their efforts, setting up roadblocks and conducting door-to-door searches. The authorities were relentless, but the Texas 7 were always one step ahead. They changed their appearance, shaving their heads or growing beards, and avoided using credit cards or any form of identification. The tension escalated as the days turned into weeks. There were several close calls. On one occasion, a state trooper pulled over one of their stolen vehicles for a routine traffic stop. The fugitives, posing as innocent travelers, managed to talk their way out of the situation. Another time, a tip led a SWAT team to a farmhouse where the group had been hiding just hours earlier. The Texas 7's ability to evade capture was both astonishing and terrifying. Each near miss only served to heighten the tension, both for the fugitives and the pursuing authorities. The nation watched in suspense, wondering if these men would ever be caught. The manhunt was intensifying, but for now, the Texas 7 remained elusive. Their survival strategy was a testament to their cunning and desperation. But as law enforcement closed in, it was only a matter of time before their luck would run out. Stay tuned as we delve into the next chapter of this incredible true crime tale, the moment the Texas 7's reign of terror came to a dramatic end. On December 24, 2000, the Texas 7's desperate bid for freedom took a dark and irreversible turn. As the group ran low on funds and supplies, they set their sights on Oshman's sporting goods store in Irving, Texas. This wasn't just a routine heist. It was a well-planned operation that would end in tragedy. Under the cover of night, the fugitives approached the store. They knew the layout, the security protocols, and the timing of the staff shifts. Armed with stolen weapons, they stormed in, overpowering the employees and taking hostages. The plan was to loot the store for cash and firearms, ensuring they could continue their life on the run. But things quickly spiraled out of control. As the Texas 7 ransacked the store, a silent alarm was triggered, alerting the Irving Police Department. Officer Aubrey Hawkins, a dedicated and beloved member of the force, responded to the call. Little did he know, he was walking into an ambush. The moment Officer Hawkins arrived, he was met with a hail of gunfire. The Texas 7 showed no mercy, ruthlessly gunning him down. The scene was chaotic and brutal, leaving Officer Hawkins fatally wounded. The fugitives fled the store, leaving behind a scene of carnage and chaos. This tragic event marked a turning point in the Texas 7's escape. What had started as a daring prison break had now escalated into a national tragedy. The murder of Officer Aubrey Hawkins galvanized law enforcement and the public alike, transforming the escape into an all-out manhunt. The stakes were higher than ever. The Texas 7 were no longer just fugitives. They were now cop killers, hunted by every law enforcement agency in the country. The manhunt intensified, and the nation's eyes were fixed on the unfolding drama. Stay with us as we move to the next chapter in this gripping true crime saga, where the Texas Seven's reign of terror comes to a dramatic end. The tragic murder of Officer Aubrey Hawkins marked a turning point in the Texas Seven's escape saga. Now, they were not just fugitives, they were the nation's most wanted criminals. The stakes had never been higher, and the urgency to capture them intensified. Law enforcement agencies across the country sprang into action. The FBI took the lead, coordinating with state and local police to track down the Texas Seven. The media quickly picked up on the story, broadcasting updates around the clock. The fugitives' faces were plastered on every news channel, newspaper, and website. Their notoriety grew, and so did the public's fear and outrage. America's Most Wanted, the iconic true crime show, played a pivotal role in the manhunt. Host John Walsh made a passionate plea to viewers, urging them to keep an eye out for the dangerous fugitives. The show aired detailed profiles of each member of the Texas Seven, highlighting their criminal backgrounds and the heinous acts they had committed since their escape. The media frenzy reached a fever pitch. Tips began to pour in from every corner of the country. People were on high alert, and the pressure on the Texas Seven was mounting. They were constantly on the move, trying to stay one step ahead of the law. But with the entire nation watching, their days of freedom were numbered. As the manhunt continued, the sense of urgency grew. The Texas Seven had become the top priority for law enforcement, and no resource was spared in the effort to bring them to justice. The tension was palpable, and the nation held its breath, waiting for the moment when the fugitives would finally be caught. Stay with us as we move to the next chapter in this gripping true crime saga, where the Texas Seven's reign of terror comes to a dramatic end. As the national manhunt for the Texas Seven intensified, the net began to tighten around the elusive fugitives. The relentless pursuit led law enforcement agencies to a quiet RV park in Woodland Park, Colorado. It was here, amidst the serene mountain backdrop, that the drama reached its peak. Tips from vigilant citizens hinted at the presence of the fugitives, and the FBI, along with local police, moved in swiftly. The tension was palpable as the RV park was surrounded. Officers moved with caution, knowing that these men were armed and dangerous. The nation held its breath, glued to their screens, as the standoff unfolded live. Inside one of the RVs, the Texas Seven were cornered. Negotiations began, but the situation was volatile. The fugitives were desperate, and desperation often leads to unpredictable actions. Hours passed, and the standoff grew more intense. The air was thick with suspense, every second feeling like an eternity. Then, in a tragic turn of events, one of the escapees, Larry Harper, made a harrowing decision. Refusing to surrender, he took his own life. The nation watched in shock as the news broke. The remaining fugitives, now even more isolated and desperate, had no choice but to face the inevitable. The dramatic standoff in Woodland Park was a testament to the relentless pursuit of justice. It marked the beginning of the end for the Texas Seven. With one member dead and the others captured, the reign of terror that had gripped the nation was finally coming to a close. Stay with us as we move to the next chapter in this gripping true crime saga, where the Texas Seven's reign of terror comes to a dramatic end. As the dust settled from the dramatic standoff in Colorado, the nation turned its eyes to the aftermath of the Texas Seven's capture. The surviving members, Joseph Garcia, Michael Rodriguez, George Rivas, Randy Halprin, Patrick Murphy, and Donald Newberry, were swiftly extradited back to Texas to face justice. The trials that followed were a harrowing ordeal for the victims' families. Each day in court was a painful reminder of the terror and loss they had endured. The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing the escape, the string of violent crimes, and the tragic murder of Officer Aubrey Hawkins. The defense struggled to counter the overwhelming evidence. One by one, the jury delivered their verdicts: guilty. The sentences were severe and unanimous: death. For the families of the victims, there was a sense of closure, but it was bittersweet. The emotional toll was immense. Many spoke of their loved ones, the dreams cut short, and the void left behind. The final chapter of the Texas 7 saga was written in the courtroom, but the echoes of their actions would resonate for years to come. The surviving members were sent to death row, where they would await their final fate. For the families, there was no real solace, only the hope that justice, in its own way, might bring some measure of peace. Stay with us as we conclude this gripping true crime saga, reflecting on the lessons learned and the enduring impact of the Texas 7's reign of terror. The Texas 7 escape left an indelible mark not just on the victims' families, but on the entire criminal justice system. In the wake of their audacious breakout, prison security protocols underwent a massive overhaul. Texas, in particular, ramped up its security measures, implementing stricter guard training, advanced surveillance systems, and more rigorous inmate monitoring. Nationwide, prisons took heed, adopting similar changes to prevent another such escape. Beyond the tangible security upgrades, the Texas 7 incident offered profound insights into the criminal mind. It exposed vulnerabilities in the system and highlighted the lengths to which desperate individuals would go to reclaim their freedom. This escape wasn't just a failure of physical security, but a lapse in understanding the psychological and sociological factors driving such high-stakes behavior. Ultimately, the Texas 7 escape reshaped the way prison systems operate today. It served as a stark reminder that vigilance, innovation, and a deep understanding of inmate psychology are crucial in maintaining order and safety. The legacy of this infamous breakout continues to influence policies and practices, ensuring that the lessons learned from that dark chapter are never forgotten. As we reflect on the enduring impact of the Texas 7's reign of terror, it's clear that the ripples of their actions have shaped the future of prison security and criminal justice in ways that will resonate for generations to come. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into more true crime stories that have left their mark on history. As we unravel the tale of the Texas 7, one cannot help but ponder the lingering questions that remain unanswered. How could such a meticulously planned escape have been prevented? Were there signs that were overlooked, or perhaps ignored? The escape highlighted several critical lapses in the prison system. Reports later revealed that the guards at the John B. Connally Unit were overworked and undertrained, a perfect storm for disaster. The prison security protocols were outdated, and the staffing was insufficient to handle the inmate population effectively. These issues were not unique to this facility. They were symptomatic of a broader problem within the correctional system. Controversies erupted in the aftermath, with many pointing fingers at the authorities. Some argued that the escape could have been thwarted with better communication and coordination among prison staff. Others blamed budget cuts that had left the prison system vulnerable. The authorities faced immense scrutiny for their handling of the situation, both during and after the escape. Moreover, the Texas 7's ability to evade capture for so long raised questions about the effectiveness of law enforcement's response. Was there a lack of urgency, or perhaps a failure to mobilize resources promptly? The tragic murder of Officer Aubrey Hawkins during the robbery at Oshman's Sporting Goods added a layer of complexity and sorrow to the case, underscoring the dire consequences of the escape. In the end, the Texas 7 incident serves as a sobering reminder of the importance of vigilance and preparedness. It challenges us to reflect on the systemic issues that allowed such a dramatic breakout to occur, and compels us to seek solutions to prevent future tragedies. As we close this chapter, we are left with a profound sense of introspection. The Texas 7 may have been captured and brought to justice, but the questions they left behind continue to resonate, urging us to learn from the past and strive for a more secure future. Stay with us as we conclude this gripping saga and explore the broader implications of one of the most infamous prison breaks in American history.